Hey guys, Naterz here, and today I'm going to be talking about a slightly controversial topic, one that I think that people have been talking about for a very long time that relates to this game, and that is third-party characters. Now, there have been a lot of people talking about third-party characters over the whole game's history. There are a lot of highly requested third-party characters, but ultimately this game is made by Warner. And so far, all of the MultiVersus characters, if we just look up MultiVersus, all of the MultiVersus characters at the moment are considered Warner characters. There are no third-party characters in this game. Now, some of you may say Jason is a third-party, and sort of. He sort of is. So I wouldn't consider Jason a third party. I know there are a lot of people that do. Who owns the rights to Friday the 13th? So, let's see here. Friday the 13th. So if we look at owners here, there are 3 owners of Friday the 13th, which already makes that confusing. Warner Bros. Is one of them, along with Paramount and this guy named Victor Miller. I believe that's a guy. It might not be a guy. It could be a company. I have no idea. Anyways, so Jason technically is not solely owned by Warner. So could that make him a third party? Yes, it could. But he is related to Warner. So that begs the question, will every single character who gets into this game be related to Warner? Because there are some characters who are related to Warner, but aren't owned by Warner. One of those characters could be Clementine from The Walking Dead. If we just look up The Walking Dead Telltale. So if we look at The Walking Dead Telltale page, Telltale announced deals with Robert Kirkman and Warner Bros. In February 2011 for episodic series based on The Walking Dead and Fables. Blah, 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 blah. So, The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, has connections with Warner. If we also look up, what was it? So this is Warner Brothers' Amazon page, and I don't think you can find it here. But if you look up The Walking Dead Telltale, this is just searching in the Warner Brothers store. So this game and multiple other games have been published, I believe, by Warner. And so Clementine, one of the main characters of the Telltale Walking Dead, could theoretically make it into MultiVersus. Would she be considered a third party? Technically, yes, she would. She is not owned by Warner. She is owned by Telltale. But she has relations to Warner. So I think that it's a little interesting how that works. So if we look at the most requested characters for MultiVersus, second place currently is a third-party character. That would be Walter White from Breaking Bad. Now, Breaking Bad does not have any relation to Warner that I know of. Does that mean that they cannot get in? No, it does not. The devs have said that any character is possible for MultiVersus. But I think that if a character is owned or has relations to Warner, they are probably a lot more likely. So, is Walter White likely? Honestly, if he didn't have so much support, I would say no. But if we look to Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. If we go to Twitter, I don't want to create an account. The most popular, as far as I know, I believe the most popular for MultiVersus account, which there are a lot of for MultiVersus accounts, is Walter White for MultiVersus. This guy has been around since nearly the beginning. He's joined in June of 2022. I believe I created my account, I think it was 2021? So this guy has been around for a very long time. He's been here since practically the beginning, and he is by far the most popular for MultiVersus account. Now, I think that due to this, because there is such a large demand for him, I think there is actually a decent chance that we will be seeing Walter White in this game. Now, if like 27,000 followers is a lot, MultiVersus only has 406,000, which is a lot of followers. I shouldn't say only, but like 27,000 is still a fraction of that. It's a lot of followers. And there aren't many for MultiVersus accounts that can even compare to this. So there's a demand for third-party characters. So will Walter White make it in? Maybe. But he is not related to Warner. So I think that the devs will fight for Walter White because Walter White is such a popular character. But I'm not sure if he would make it in if there wasn't such a big demand behind him. But let's look at some other third-party characters. Godzilla. Godzilla is an interesting character because the Godzilla versus Kong and the Godzilla movies in general versus Kong. So this movie is distributed by Warner, and it is made by Legendary, but Godzilla technically is owned by Toho. Where is the owners? Does it not show? Anyways, Godzilla is owned by Toho. Yes, Toho. Toho. So Godzilla is not owned by Warner, but yes, he has a lot of relation to Warner because of the movies. Now, I think if the devs for MultiVersus reached out to Toho and was like, hey, we want Godzilla in this game, I think Toho would be down for that. They have worked alongside Warner in the past, and I think that it could happen. Now, the question is, do the devs for MultiVersus want to add another big character? Because I know that they wanted, when they added the Iron Giant, they said that they kind of wanted to take a break from adding more big characters, because the Iron Giant, adding a huge character to a video game has never really been done before. Iron Giant was kind of the first of that. And balancing that kind of character is probably a nightmare. And so the fact that they said that they don't want to do that makes sense. Personally, I would love to see Kong. Kong is owned by Warner, partly owned by Universal, I believe. So it's like shared partnership. Yes, so Warner Brothers, Universal, I don't know what Studio Canal is. So this is, again, kind of like the whole Jason situation. Jason is owned by, what was it, Paramount and Warner. Paramount and Warner, yes. So King Kong is owned by Warner. Friday the 13th is owned by Warner. Godzilla is not. So I think King Kong is probably... I'd love to see Kong. Okay, I'm super biased. I think that Kong would be an amazing inclusion, and I hope the devs do it. I would love for him to be the next big character. I think that Audrey 2 would also be an amazing next big character. But if we keep scrolling, more third-party characters. So Goku from Dragon Ball Z. I don't know how likely Goku is. I think there are a lot of devs who are fans of Dragon Ball Z, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't have a lot of relations to Dragon Ball Z. Warner doesn't. And yes, there's a lot of people who want this. So if you're wondering, this whole list, I probably should have said this from the beginning. This whole list is all of the requests in the MultiVersus Discord server. And so that is how these people have decided what the most requested characters for MultiVersus are. And I use this list a lot when making videos. So, Dragon Ball, if we compare the numbers, so Ben 10 is the most requested MultiVersus character according to the Discord. He's 11,500 people wanting him, which is a lot. People might join the MultiVersus Discord, but the fact that they go out of their way to request characters, you won't get a ton of those. So 11,000, that's a huge number. 11.5 thousand. Walter White is 8,000. Now, Goku is only 2,500, which is still a lot. That is a lot of things. He is, what place is he in? Does it show? Yeah, he's in 15th, which is really good. I don't know if we will be seeing Goku. It would be kind of cool. I don't know if it will actually happen. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So JoJo actually does have relations to Warner. I believe in Japan, Warner... did Warner distribute JoJo's Bizarre? Yes, Warner Bros. Home Entertainment distributes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on DVD in North America. I believe there's something in Japan. I believe in Japan, Warner distributes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The reason why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is owned by Warner Brothers, blah, blah, blah. It's not owned by Warner. I don't know what this dude is saying. It's not owned by Warner. You can see here, it's owned by Lucky Land Communications. Anyways, it still has connections to Warner, though. That's what I'm saying. It still has connections to Warner. So it could be possible. I wouldn't be surprised if we see JoJo. And I think that JoJo will be the introduction to anime characters if we see them at all. So the next one, Sonic. I have a good feeling that Sonic could be the first third-party character for this game. Now, Sonic does have relation to Warner. If we look here, Sonic Boom. We want the TV show. Sonic Boom. This was a TV show. It was made for and released on Boomerang Cartoon Network. So all of the Warner-owned TV show networks. Yeah, I remember watching this show, a couple episodes of this show. I grew up with Boomerang. I didn't grow up with Cartoon Network, but I had Boomerang. And so I remember watching some episodes of Sonic Boom on Boomerang. And I actually did enjoy it. So Sonic does have relations to Warner through that. I think that Sega would probably be down for adding Sonic if they requested it. Now, Smash could get a little bit in the way of that, but ultimately, Nintendo doesn't have a say on if Sonic gets in. It would be Sega, not Sonic, or not Nintendo. So, Sonic could actually get into this game, and I actually wouldn't be surprised by it. And so there's some other third-party characters. I think technically The Mask, yeah, Dark Horse Comics. So The Mask is owned by a different company. Yes, they distributed, Warner distributed the original Mask movie. So I think that he could possibly make it in because of relations. Saul Goodman, Breaking Bad. I think if we get a Breaking Bad character, it would be Walter. We probably won't get any more. Now, I have a very controversial opinion on third-party characters because I personally think that we don't need them. I would welcome third-party characters in this game with open arms, but I think that Warner has such a vast catalog of characters that we don't need third-party characters. Now, so here, right here, I make all of my, I do a lot of photo editing in PowerPoint. It's just kind of what I've been doing for practically my whole life. So this is a little graphic that I made, and I will put it up on the screen a while ago, just to showcase, because I actually made a post on Twitter. I made a Twitter post. Yeah, so I made a Twitter post. I said, I've been thinking about something lately. Give me a third-party character that you'd like to see in MultiVersus, and I'll attempt to provide the Warner equivalent. Now, the reason I posted this, and this actually did get a lot of responses and attention, a lot more than I expected, which was fun and a little overwhelming at the same time. Anyways, I was thinking that there are a lot of third-party characters that, I have heard people want for this game that Warner has a similar character of. And so I thought that if people gave me their characters, their third-party characters that they want, I could come up with a reasonable character that Warner owns that is similar. And this was actually way more difficult than I expected. I was kind of surprised how difficult it was, because there are some crazy third-party characters out there. But just to highlight a few. Rick Grimes. I love The Walking Dead. I think that Rick Grimes would be awesome for this game. But Warner has released a movie called I Am Legend. And the main character in that movie, I Am Legend, his name is Robert Neville. Dr. Robert Neville. And I have made a whole moveset for Robert Neville. If you want to watch that, I will put that on the screen now. And so the whole... The Walking Dead and I Am Legend is very different in nature because The Walking Dead has multiple characters in it. I Am Legend, the main character and kind of the only character for practically the whole movie, is Dr. Robert Neville. He has a dog, but that is very different from The Walking Dead. But I think the two characters are very similar. They're both in apocalyptic situations. They both... So, I Am Legend is kind of a vampire movie, if I'm not mistaken, where The Walking Dead, again, is a zombie movie. So, the characters may not be exactly the same, but I think their personalities are very similar. Freddy Fazbear, a character, very popular character, and I could compare this to the Banana Splits movie. So, I think it was in 2019 or 2020. 2019. There was a horror movie made by Warner about the Banana Splits. Now, the whole premise of the movie is that the Banana Splits are robots, which already is an interesting concept, but the robots come to life and they start murdering people. And so Bingo is one of my most wanted characters for this game. I didn't hate this movie. I prefer the Banana Splits and other sources of media. I thought this movie was interesting. I think it's cool that the movie exists. But I personally probably wouldn't totally draw from this movie. Anywho, so the whole animatronic robot characters coming to life thing, very, very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's. So I compared Freddy to Fleagle. Now, if we've watched the movie, Freddy is actually probably more similar to Snorky. But I compared Fleagle to Freddy purely because Fleagle is kind of the main split. Freddy's kind of the main animatronic for Five Nights at Freddy's. So, John Wick. I compared him to Mr. Smith from Shoot 'em Up. I talked about Shoot 'em Up in my previous video, the New Line Cinema video. John Wick is very similar to Mr. Smith in my opinion. Mr. Smith, we don't really know a ton about his background, but they are very similar characters. They are insanely good marksmen. Now, John Wick will use kind of other weapons, and Mr. Smith kind of primarily only uses guns and carrots. But I think that if you want a cool action character who primarily focuses around guns, instead of giving us John Wick, who, yes, is a very cool character, give us Mr. Smith. I think that he is another cool character, and, again, owned by Warner. Now, Rambo, popular character. I would consider comparing Rambo to Mason from Surviving the Game, another character that I talked about from last week. I think they are similar in nature in the fact Rambo kind of is hunted in his movie. Now, I have only seen the first Rambo movie, so I don't know about the others. But Rambo is kind of hunted in his movie, and so is Mason in Surviving the Game. And they both are very smart characters who use tactics that not everybody would think of. Surviving the Game is kind of that movie. There are a lot of movies out there where you're kind of screaming at the screen, like, why aren't you doing this? Surviving the Game, Mason is a very smart character, and he does the things that you want him to do. And I think that Rambo does the exact same thing. They both are good at weapons, and so I would compare them to each other. If people want Rambo, I'd suggest requesting Mason. Now, the very last one that I have, just as an example here, is Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget could be compared to Secret Squirrel. Now, they are different. Inspector Gadget is technically a cyborg, but Secret Squirrel has a lot of gadgets that are similar to Inspector Gadget. It's just not built into him. So I think that if you want a cool gadget-wielding character, similar to Inspector Gadget, you could ask for Secret Squirrel. Now, their personalities are very different. I really love Inspector Gadget's personality. Secret Squirrel is a bit different. So I think that what I'm trying to prove here is that there are a lot of third-party characters that could get into this game and that a lot of people want. And yeah, that I support you wanting these characters in the game. Just I personally think that there are cool characters owned by Warner that I would like to see get in the game as well, that are very similar. I think that third parties in general is a really interesting topic, and I don't know how long it will be until we see third parties. I think that it's not completely up to the devs either. I think that Warner ultimately will have the final say on if a third party gets in, and plus it will probably, like, they have to pay money for these characters. Anyways, I doubt that they would go to it says here that Sony owns Walter White Breaking Bad, which I'm just going to assume is correct. They're not going to go to Sony and be like, hey, can we put this character in our game? And then Sony be like, yeah, sure, don't pay us anything. They are probably going to have to pay for Walter White. And so chances are getting Walter White into your game is probably going to cost a decent amount of money. And I don't know if the devs for MultiVersus will want to put in that much money until they start making enough money where they can be sure that after they put Walter White in, they can continue adding other characters as well. And personally, I would rather have more characters in this game other than Walter White. If we get Walter White, but he also is the cost equivalent to like 20 characters, I would rather have 20 characters, in my personal opinion. I think that this roster could be insanely big. It already is huge. All of these characters, these are such iconic characters. Very iconic characters. And I'm very excited to see what this cast is going to look like at the end of the series. So ultimately, I am making this video because there are 3 points that I want to make. The first point is that I think that it will be a while until we see third-party characters. I think that they need to get their revenue higher. I don't know what their revenue currently is, but I think that they want to make sure that they can afford it, first of all, which is a very good idea, and that they can continue putting out characters afterward. And third-party characters technically would be a good strategic decision. It would draw in a lot of people, especially if Walter White was actually added. The second point is that I think that it will be easier for third-party characters who are related to Warner, again, like Sonic, because of Sonic Boom, to get into the game. And so my last and final point is that I think that there are characters in Warner's catalog that people simply don't know about that are similar enough to third-party characters that people want. And you could be requesting those characters instead. I think that third-party characters should probably end up in this game at some point. If I'm being reasonable with myself, there will probably be 1 or 2. I wouldn't expect a ton of them, but I personally don't think we need them. Yeah, so this is kind of my first discussion type video. This is like a purely unscripted video. I haven't really done anything like this before. If you want to see more stuff like this in the future, I might consider doing it. I think that third-party characters are something that, first of all, my comment section has been going crazy about for a very long time, and it's something that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to hold myself purely to a script. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. And yeah, I upload every 2 weeks on Tuesdays, so if you enjoyed this, consider watching next week Tuesday. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.